happy Spotify Wrapped season.
Yeah.
This must be one of those sort of like, it feels like always mixed reactions where there's so much, it's so nice because you get so much feedback from fans and you have so many people sharing all of these lovely, like how many hours they've spent just listening to your music.
Yeah.
But then on the flip side, you get someone like, I just saw Weird Al posted his like Spotify Wrapped video where he was like, oh, thanks everybody for listening. Now I have $12 for a sandwich.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's kind of like always opens up the discussion for how much artists are paid in a streaming world. How do you feel about this sort of situation?
I mean, I think that, there's a very, Spotify Wrapped, it brings up a lot of gratitude and it brings up a lot of mixed feelings about it. Not, obviously, there could be a better model for paying artists for streams. That's true. But that wouldn't solve the sort of like disparity of, the fact that most of the income in the music industry goes to the top 1%, just like it does in a regular economy. I think that if I'm being honest, the thing that I'm more conflicted about is how quickly like quantifiable our artist careers become. Like we're dabbling in something that is inherently relative and subjective and qualitative. And so now our success is wrapped entirely in the framework of numbers and quantity.
Yeah.
And that to me is far more problematic than the discussion about whether or not we're getting paid enough for streams. Just psychologically to myself,
Oh, of course. I think that I wonder if that's similar to just the social media experience of living right now, where it's like, oh, this Instagram post didn't get as many likes as the other post. So does that mean this part of my life is better than that part?
Yeah. Like I tell my kids aren't on social media and, I'm going to hold out as long as we can. But I tell them that like when I was a teenager, clout existed, right? There was a social pecking order in high school and some people were cool and some people were less cool, but it wasn't quantifiable. Like now you can see literally who has the most followers and likes and comments. And I don't know. I don't think that we fully understand what that does to our brains to like have this social pecking order be so visibly finite and definite. Is kind of weird. And so I fear for what that does to young minds,
And do you fear for what that does maybe for young musicians too, who are also experiencing the industry from this sort of standpoint?
Yeah. I mean, I've seen artists with like a New Year's resolution post where they're like, yeah, like I want to do this. I want to go to the gym more and I want to get 20 million streams on a song. And I was sort of like, that's a very different, very different goal setting than what I had when I was starting out.
What were some of your starting out goals when you were getting into music?
Like get paid to play music at a show.
Yeah, like, any amount, like $10, I'll take it.
My first paid gigs at the Media Club here in Vancouver. I was the first of 5 bands and I made $30 and I was like over the moon. Like I was like, I got paid, So, obviously things change. But I feel like, again, we live in a world where everything is so immediately quantifiable, and that's cool in some ways, but dangerous in others.
Yeah, it feels like a blessing and a curse because that sort of is also, there's no recipe for virality. So it's kind of like, as an artist, there are some songs that just suddenly they hit, and they're hitting over a wide range of people, and you're introducing your music to all these new fans. But it's kind of like when you try to recreate that magic, it's almost impossible. Yeah,
I think the best art is something that feels gratuitous. It feels like something that you made because you wanted to make it, and it evokes something. It unlocks some hidden truth. It vulnerably shows the world a little piece of your soul, And I think, and I know because I've seen it firsthand, that a lot of people are making music and writing music for the medium of social media, and they're actually crafting songs based around what they know works in the format of online discourse. So you're reverse engineering something inherently, which is like, you could do that with stocks, you could do that with button making, but you're doing it with music. It feels like that ain't gonna be timeless, when you think about the songs that last through the ages, it's not something that, it's not the hamster song, it's not, Although I'm blue, I was gonna say I'm blue. Dabba dee dabba. It has sort of last, but you know what I mean.
Also, it's called hamster dance.
Yeah, I mean,
dodo.
I think that what works on TikTok or what works on Instagram to gather watch time is things that are kind of like adult nursery rhymes, things like that are very like jokey. Like there's song, I saw a viral song the other day about who farted on the plane, and it's like I watched the whole thing. I watched the whole stupid song. I gave it my algorithmic love because I thought it was funny. So now that is what's popular. What's popular, and something like I love a song. Like the idea of writing a song about farting on the plane is hilarious. Like that's great. I'm not against writing a funny song, but I worry about how we package everything to be viral, and then nothing is left for being, okay to be enjoyed in solitude or enjoyed invisibly. So that's kind of scary to me, that art itself is being crafted toward the medium by which we are now used to consuming it.
Yeah. So switching gears a little bit, I remember when Say When first came out, you were kind of talking about the act of crafting that song, which is almost tongue-in-cheek what we've just been talking about, how it was
Totally.
almost created with the intention to feed the algorithm.
Yeah.
So what was that process like?
Well, so I have this record that I'm extremely proud of. It came out last year, and it doesn't really have like a classic radio song on it, and it wasn't meant to. That's not the kind of record that it was. And so the label was like, what if you just kind of like put something out in between records that's, feed the machine a little bit with something that's kind of poppy. And I was like, okay, what if I wrote a song about not having a hit? I thought that would be kind of funny. And I ended up loving the song, and I ended up loving working with Steve Bays on it, and he's like a total genius. And I think it's a really fun song. But yeah, it was sort of my tongue-in-cheek, vain attempt at writing a hit about not having a hit. And it's kind of making fun of myself for so desperately wanting all of your attention. You know what I mean? Like I'm a youngest child at heart, and as much as I can be critical of the industry or something, the truth is that I'm very ambitious, and I do want to be a part of it all. And so I'm sort of trying to poke fun at myself for that.
Of course. And I did see some footage. I've really enjoyed seeing footage from your UK tour. I know there was one video, you shared it, of someone in the crowd who was like, I heard that Canadian accent and immediately got homesick. And then this man just went up there and sang these beautiful songs. What has the experience been like, sort of bringing this music to a demographic that hasn't had a chance to engage with you as much?
Yeah, I mean, that was a really amazing opportunity to go and open up for the Lumineers all over Europe earlier this year, because they're massive and they're just total sweethearts, and they put on an amazing show, and it was wild, and their audiences were incredible. Like I was playing at like an arena in Warsaw, Poland, and it's pin drop quiet. There's 8,000 people in there, and it's like totally quiet. Everyone's listening to this solo acoustic guitar guy that they've never heard of, which is such a gift and a miracle. So that was incredible, and a really great experience. And I'm going back in this winter. And that was not my first time over in Europe. I've been over there many times, but I've never had the opportunity to sort of be a part of such a rocket ship of success like the Lumineers.
Yeah, it seems like a good blend too. Like I think I can imagine a Lumineers fan who maybe hasn't heard of Dan Mangan is going to a Lumineers show, hearing Dan Mangan and going like, "Oh my God, this is the perfect."
Yeah,
perfect
I mean,
get-together.
like in the Venn diagram, it's not a complete overlap circle, but there's a good overlap.
Definitely some
portion,
overlap.
for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
And then I saw you tweeted that we should consider going back to when people saying "totes my goats" was the most annoying thing about being alive.
Yeah.
And I guess my main question is it totes Mick goats? I always thought it was totes ma goats, and now I'm feeling very foolish.
I wrote it Mick goats, and as I pressed send, I wondered the same thing. Is it ma goats?
I don't know.
Goats?
I
And I
always
think
felt
it
like
might
it was.
actually be ma goats. Totes ma goats.
Because I always thought it was almost like totes my goats, like my bros.
Yeah.
I think is how I always heard it in my head.
Yeah, I second guessed it myself, so I think you might be onto something.
So do you feel differently about ma goats versus Mick goats?
I would say equally the parlance of their time.
Agreed.
I'm not going to bring either back.
That's fair. That's a very safe answer.
Although, like, there's lots of old things that, like, I use rad all the time, killer. There's lots of terminology from my teenage years that I like. Sick. Oh, it's sick.
Yeah.
I use that all the time. So, maybe I'm just an old guy.
That's okay. I feel like I had a similar thought when I watched The Sopranos for the first time years after it was already over. I did the COVID watch of Sopranos.
Watched it. I've never seen an episode of The Sopranos.
There's one scene that just gave me such recovered memories where their kid is like sharing a Coke with one of his friends, and he's like, just don't backwash. And I was like, oh my God, I remember when that used to be a serious concern.
Totally.
When it was like you'd share a drink and like, just don't backwash it, okay?
Yeah, there's like that one kid that always backwashes.
Yes.
Gross.
Anyways, we have, you're wrapping up the Going Somewhere tour. You're doing that at home December 9th at the Vogue Theater. There's a few tickets left. Hopefully there won't be any left by the time.
No, it is sold out.
Sold out. Sorry, guys. Too late.
Yeah.
How does it feel wrapping up your tour at home? Are hometown shows a little bit different?
Oh, yeah. There's no question. Hometown shows are crazy and so much fun. And it's nice to finish the tour here. I feel like it's weirder to start the tour at home. It's kind of nice to have a homecoming, And the Vogue is my favorite venue to play. And it's sold out. It's going to be in the band. This tour has been the best tour of my whole life. The show has never been so finely tuned and yet malleable and different every night. And we've really crafted it that way. We've crafted it so that it's kind of taking people on a journey, and yet each journey is significantly different than the others, when you kind of... Because you have to try and leave room in the evening to go on a whim of whatever comes back at you from the crowd. So that's kind of nice. I feel like if you get too much into a sort of like ice tray cookie cutter type thing where every show is identical, that's when you start going crazy.
Yeah, I can see that. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for swinging by today. Enjoy your last show on this tour and a little break before you get back on the road. And I can't wait to hear some songs from you right now.
Thank you so much.